saw this video. It was being shared for some reason. It came out in September.
Yeah.
This video was being shared again, making the rounds because someone in my timeline said, "I'm really thankful this year to not be in the slavery-based tipping industry of service," something like that. I don't know. Exactly. They were really upset, and I realized, I believed that tipping was rooted in slavery and that it was unfair, and I was like, well, it's kind of something we do and it's fair now because there were videos like this. There was the Adam Ruins Everything on tipping, which
full of a lot of nothing.
You just think, why would they politicize it? Why would they not tell the truth? And that's where today almost everything is political, whether you want it to be or not. I want to ask you a question of the day. Did you believe that tipping was rooted in slavery? Did you believe it was unfair? Did you believe a lot of these myths you heard from Adam Ruins Everything? And Fusion, roll clip.
What if I told you that tipping has a racist past? And it's not just because black waiters get smaller tips than their white coworkers, or that the tipped minimum wage just makes the poor poorer.
Couple of things. We'll get to the racist past. Maybe sometimes, I know this is demonetized, you can hear that bong sound. Maybe because black people tip less.
Yeah.
They tip less, and a majority of them actually don't know or agree upon what the appropriate tip rate is compared to white people. So culturally, black people tend to work in areas where there would be more black people, and they tip less. That could be a part of it. But let's get into the whole tipping racist history, because this is something a lot of people believe, and at one point, I did as well.
It's that the custom of tipping in America was racist from the very beginning.
America,
and
racist.
It goes all the way back to slavery.
America, slavery.
Tipping started among European aristocrats in the 17th century. Rich
America,
Americans
racist,
adopted
slavery.
the practice in the mid-1800s, and it spread throughout the country after the Civil War.
Look at that sleight of hand. I was watching it go, wait, hold on a second. It has been rooted in slavery, racist in America.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thought I was learning.
In 1700s Europe.
Exactly.
So first off, that should tip you off right away that it's actually not true. According to the scholarly work on the subject, tipping began way before slavery, had nothing to do with racism, likely began in the late Middle Ages, and somewhere by the time of Tudor England in, I think, 1485, something like that. Tipping was commonplace. So right off the bat, they want you to think America, racist, slavery.
We came up with it. Our idea.
Europe.
Yeah,
and even that, I wouldn't say is not entirely accurate. It's inaccurate. Next clip.
According to research by activist Saru Jayaraman, newly freed slaves were flocking to major cities to find work.
Who? This is the thing, too, when people accuse us of not sourcing properly. This is Fusion. This is like a major network on Facebook. Our source, a girl.
A girl.
Saru Jayaraman. Who? Well, oh, here you go. She's on the Feministing 5. She writes for Huffington Post. She's a leftist activist. So there you go, right off the bat. I know what you're saying. You're cherry picking. I want you to go watch this video. You think we're cherry picking their sources. We're not. That is their source. There are no that's their source. It's their only source. Next clip.
But they were only hired for jobs that were considered unskilled.
So she's talking about slaves after slavery. Listen, no one is condoning slavery, right?
No.
Anyone in this room, right?
No.
Any hands up condoning
Not a
slavery?
fan.
No. Okay, no one's condoning slavery. But slavery was the law of the land. Slavery, as you talked about, even with Europe, slavery was the norm. People had lived with slavery, and now you freed slaves, and of course they were unskilled. They were tilling the field. So listen, it's not perfect, but baby steps.
This attitude is summed up in this passage by a reporter in 1902.
I had never known any but Negro servants. Negroes take tips, of course. One expects that of them. It is a token of their inferiority. But to give money to a white man was embarrassing to me.
So John Speed Journalist. So I searched high and low, and I could find nary an article from a John Speed in that area, let alone one with a lisp. The Negro is inferior. So you couldn't just find someone to put on some kind of colonial sound.
Yeah.
Really, Fusion? Did you have to walk over to HR and Vox? Do you have anyone who can do our narration? We've got the man for you. But I did finally find out the original article from John Speed was in McBride's magazine. Here it is. And it was actually, the journalist was talking about how common white servers were in the North, and he found that kind of odd because he was from the South, so he'd only seen black servers. So again, they have one source, then they're talking about this article, taking a paragraph to mean something that it's almost the opposite of what he said in the article.
Oh.
Next clip.
Figure.
By the late 1880s, black workers accounted for nearly half of the hospitality industry. Then in the 20s, restaurants that were losing money because of prohibition laws encouraged tipping, making it even more popular.
Okay. Black Americans accounted for almost half. What about the other more than half? Majority, or plurality, some might say.
In 1996, the then head of the National Restaurant Association, Herman Cain, convinced a Republican-led Congress to set a
White
two-tiered wage
supremacist.
system for tipped and non-tipped workers. The tipped minimum wage was set at $2.13 per hour. Today, in 17 states, the legal minimum wage for tipped workers still only $2.13 per hour.
I just had to include that because it started out based in racism and slavery, and then Herman Cain, who was the blackest guy to ever run for office. We're not talking about Barack Obama. We're not talking about Condoleezza Rice. We're not even talking about Ben Carson, single mother Detroit, trying to stab
Abercrombie, kind of black.
We're
No.
talking about my plane is 999. Get yourself some Goddess pizza, bitch. That man ran for office and came very close, and I think that about you. Statistically, tipped workers make an average of $13 per hour, which is obviously way more than the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour. Now let's look at this. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, the average wage for all occupations is $16.87 an hour. Okay?
Yeah.
So $16.87 an hour. People in the service industry who work on tips are making about $13 an hour. Listen, they're not rocket scientists.
They work hard.
This includes actual rocket scientists make $16.87 an hour. 13 an hour. You're
pretty
getting
good.
within striking distance of the person who might be. I mean, this is all a part of the same statistic. This person performed brain surgery. They brought you your Applebee's 2 for $20, and they got it wrong.
Twice.
The spinach dip was runny. It's always runny. Good spinach dip. Watch, someone's gonna say, "Well, no, brain surgery makes $16 an hour." I'm talking about the statistics.
Yes. And you guys work hard. That's fine. We're not talking about hard work, though. We're talking about skill.
Yeah. I don't know how much. Here's the thing: if you want to be a server, honestly, and you want to get good tips, just be nice.
Yes.
Just be a nice person.
Don't be a jerk.
I'm
Show
amazed
up
when I go
every once in a while. Come back to the
you ever
table.
just go to a restaurant and you're like, I can't believe that this is, and you end up tipping them 15 or 20% anyway because you have to, because you know this, that obviously they make their money off of tips, and you have Adam Ruins Everything saying you're a jerk if you don't tip them, but this person literally walked up, didn't serve you the food that you ordered, refused to change it, and then charged you for both dishes in the first place. You want to get tipped well, just be nice. That's a start. Next clip.
Non-white restaurant workers take home 56% less than their white peers.
Okay, a lot to unpack. Yeah, it's such a short phrase. She says so it started out as slavery, black, ignoring Europe, right? Ignoring where it actually, ignoring the Middle Ages. Now it's non-white versus white. So that includes everyone who's not white. It's no longer about black. And you notice something here? This is just the restaurant worker comparison.
Yes.
Yeah. This is the Vox tactic of just changing the parameters and the definitions as we go along.
Consistently changing
Start with
the
something we
parameters.
agree on, and then move out to include
Well, it
more
starts
and
with a
more and
lie.
more.
Starts a little kernel of a lie, and then it grows into a popcorn of bullshit. And it's just restaurant. This isn't now. It's not only not about servers. It's not about tipped workers. It's just everyone working in a restaurant. If you look at, does that stat include Michelin star chefs? Does it include sous chefs? Does it include people who are working as servers or working as managers at high-end steakhouses? This is the total number, and they just say, oh, by the way, whites and non-whites.
Yeah, I looked at the NLRB stats, or the Labor Review Board, and they said that 7 of the 10 were food service industries. It included cooks. It included dishwashers. And I'm like, of course. That's an easy job. You pull it out, you throw the rack over here. You can't put all that in and lump it into this one stat.
Well, she did. Next clip. Good effort.
According to J.R. Rahman, almost 66%
According to
of the
J.R.
6
Rahman.
million tipped workers in America are women.
Okay, sounds about right. And 93% of workplace deaths are men. Why? That's because your chances of slipping on somebody's Arnold Palmer at an Applebee's as you serve the runny spinach dip is far lower than someone falling off a roof while they're installing roof material in summer. Roofing is the name of the job. Shingles. Shingles is the
That's a good
disease. I don't
word.
really know if they install shingles. 66% of tipped workers are women. Great. And they're making more than the average hourly rate nationally.
fantastic.
Isn't that fact? Now we're saying a majority are women. They're making more than the average worker. By the way, 93% of workplace deaths are men. Moving on.
Europe, where this whole thing began, has long
Oh, now
passed
she
it
talks about Europe.
pay restaurant workers a full wage.
Yeah, and by the way, in Europe, they're bitching about it. They're bitching about going to tips, going away from tips, and how their wages are declining.
Yeah, at the end of this article, too, they're praising 2 companies that went away from tipping and just paying their employees more. And one of the companies, all the servers revolted and wanted to leave because they were making less money going that way. They wanted to be rewarded for performance.
And you know why that happens is you take away tips, the good servers leave, they go somewhere else, and then you're left with the crappy servers, and no one wants to go to your business. It's like the fight for 15.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But if you're paying them 15, but they can't even put the fillet of fish on properly, no.
No.
Yeah, I'm
this is
putting
not-
a kiosk up front and replacing a few of you guys.
And you're screwing the guy who is working his way up to
That's the
management.
point. You're screwing the guy who is working his way up, the guy who shows up, the guy who suits up whether he's having a good day or a bad day, and he says, "Hey, I'm going to be the best damn server that I can be." There's so much upwards mobility thanks to free enterprise in this country. You don't have to. You can work at McDonald's for 6 months, 9 months, and just not be an autistic pothead, and you will be a shift manager with Benny's. Okay, this is what's this, and I hate to do this because it's one of those things. I don't want to be that guy who's saying, hey, why are you always blaming the white man for, but it's just they're taking a lie. The idea that tipping is based on slavery and racism, carrying that into today with a bunch of false statistics and one Indian lady who apparently is the authority on all things tipping-based wage,
activist.
and then using that to paint with a broad brush our economy is unfair and the system is corrupt and the deck is stacked against you because of white men who didn't even create tipping in the United States and didn't create slavery either. By the way, who's doing the most to ensure that servers make more? I hate to do this, but when you politicize everything, it's white male Republicans. We're statistically the best tippers. Point final, as we say in French Canada. That's it. That's all. Pack it up. Send it on back to Mrs. Tiramisu at Orsay in the Upper East Side.